Wednesday. This is Glumpuddle. It's been a very slow news week. There's really nothing to talk about right now. So I decided to just do something on a little blog on the nagging problem with Prince Caspian, and that's the chronology and the timeline, the order that events occur. I've said, in a couple of other blogs, I think Prince Caspian's the most challenging book to adapt. For this reason, I got challenged by A.J. Aiken, if that's how you say your name. Sorry if I got it wrong. But I think that you look at some of the other Narnia books, and there's obviously any book you have challenges to adapt it, but other books I can see, well, they could just do this, and they might be able to just do this. Some books are more suited for film than others, but Prince Caspian, I'm just throwing up my hands right now and thinking, I don't know how they can do this. There just doesn't seem to be a great way of doing it. And so this blog, I'm just going to kind of go over some of the different possibilities that have been suggested. There's been a lot of discussion on this one. The big central issue, Prince Caspian. It's a big problem. In the book, it starts off with a brief summary of Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. The Pevensey's are on the railway station. They're returning to school, and they're whisked off. They have no idea why. We don't know. The audience doesn't know either. To Cara Paravel. They don't know it's Cara Paravel immediately, but they work it out. They meet Trumpkin. Trumpkin tells them a story. Goes on for 4 chapters about how Caspian lived with his uncle. He fled the castle, met the Narnians, led them in battle against Miraz, and then how they, of course, blew Queen Susan's horn. And then this is where the Pevensies realized, it was the horn that called us off that platform. They send Trumpkin to Care Paravel to to wait for the help, and then we're caught up again. The problem in a movie doing it this way is that it means losing whole character group, your 4 main characters, for a significant part of your movie. And honestly, I don't think this is as big of a problem as some people say. The big issue for me is that there's no apparent relevance between the Pevensey story and the Caspian story when Trumpkin starts. So here, as an audience member, I'm thinking, okay, we've been in this Caspian story for a while now. What is this? What does this have to do with anything? So I think as long as you can establish, and the screenwriters talked about this in the last production blog, establish a connection between the Caspian story and the Pevensey story as soon as possible, that's huge. I think it won't solve the problem. It'll make it a lot better, though. And of course, a lot of people have. So I'm gonna give you my explanation, or my way how I think it could be done at the end. But I'm going to talk about a couple of the other things that have been suggested. One of them is kind of the obvious solution you would think of immediately, which is to just tell the story chronologically from beginning to end. And this seems like, that's so easy to say, and it seems like, they could just do that. But then until you really start thinking about it and realize that would mean opening the movie with Caspian. And maybe, one of the opening scenes, the first time we see him in the book, he's talking with his uncle Miraz, and about how his uncle tells him, those stories aren't true, and his nurse gets sent away. I don't know if the nurse will be in the movie or not. But then the whole thing with Cornelius up on the tower and telling him, you're the true king of Narnia. Discovering that he has to be sent away, and fleeing the castle, meeting the old Narnians, basically go on and on all through this until they blow the horn, and then finally we get to the Pevensies. By the time they've blown the horn, I would guess, it's so hard to guess running times, and I don't know what they're going to include or change or what, but I'd say about 30 minutes, probably more, has gone by in this movie, and we haven't even seen our 4 Pevensies yet, the 4 characters from the last movie. So I think that's a bad way to open the movie. I think, as a reader and a non-reader, I think I wouldn't like that. So you have to think of another way. The BBC had this interesting thing where they kind of started with the Pevensies, then all of a sudden, then they cut to Caspian. They kind of went back and forth, like they were playing with time a little bit, and I didn't think it worked particularly well. It was just, I don't know, I just didn't care for it, honestly. Pacing-wise, it was a mess, and obviously it was very different from the book anyway. I'm not a fan of BBC movies, just for the record. But, so, and a couple things have been suggested. One thing was suggested that Trumpkin tell his story to the Pevensies as they're traveling to Caspian. So on the way, they'll be that on their journey to Caspian, and just Trumpkin will tell them their story, and it would intercut their journey with his story. I think when you kind of still have the problem here of establishing a connection. That's the main thing. And also pacing-wise, I don't think that would be a great move. But the main thing there is you have to give the Pevensies a reason to trust Trumpkin. In the book, I think that they go with him because his story makes so much sense, and it lines up with theirs, and they can see the connection with the horn. And so you have to, if he tells them the story along the way, like, why are they following him? They don't have a reason to trust him yet. So here is my rough draft, if you will, of how I think they could do it. I think you can open the movie. Now, I don't think you have to open the movie with the Pevensies, but get him into the story as soon as possible, of course. Open the movie with Caspian and Miraz having their conversation, where Caspian says, "Oh, once there was a white witch, and she made herself queen of the whole country, and there was the winter, but then the kids came from somewhere and defeated the witch, and it was all because of Aslan, you know." And Miraz saying, "Oh no, that's all nonsense." The reason I like opening this way is that scene kind of functions as a sort of prologue to Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where Caspian is kind of explaining the events of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe a little bit. And of course, the Prince Caspian book actually begins with a brief prologue of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So I think that'd be a great way to open it. It also, since you get to see Miraz saying, "Oh, that's all nonsense," and of course, it immediately gets a very important theme in Prince Caspian into the film, which is that whole notion of that they don't believe, or few people believe, in Aslan and the Pevensies anymore. And as an audience member and as a reader, I love that idea, because I read it. I know all that happened. What are you talking about? And it's just kind of a strange feeling. And that's such an important element in Prince Caspian, that they don't, that they don't believe they exist anymore. So it would immediately get the idea into there, and it would do a kind of a prologue, and it would also establish, I think, a kind of connection between the two stories. He's talking about them. And so immediately, okay, this Caspian is somehow connected to the story somehow in some way, to the Pevensies story. So that'd be the main thing. You would transition to the Pevensies on the platform as Caspian is talking about them. I think, I can't really visualize it, but I think you can, it's not a big transition going from talking about the Pevensies, or at least we know he's talking about them, to them sitting on the platform. I don't think that'd be a difficult transition. Then it's pretty much like in the book when they get to Trumpkin. Now, when Trumpkin starts his story, and he was started in a different place, because we already heard some of it, of course, in the beginning of the film. Now we know that there is some connection between Caspian and the Pevensies, even though we're not totally clear. We've seen him talking about them, and we know there's some connection. So now, I think we're more willing to go along for the ride. And, then it's pretty much as in the book. I would probably still cut back and forth to the Pevensies throughout the story, as Lewis says they do. He says that Pevensies would often interrupt and ask questions and stuff, but Lewis is going to give us kind of the condensed version, or he's going to cut all of that out. And so, this still isn't perfect. It's still, like, such long flashbacks. It's still an awkward way to tell the story a little bit. And, of course, just having, it still means not being with the Pevensies a lot. But I think that overall that would be the best way. I think that'd be a very unique way, I think. And that'd be the best way to do it. If you have any objections, post some comments. I'd love to listen to them. There's no perfect way. Everything I've come up with always has a big downside to it. But, that's why I love discussion forums and blogs and stuff. It's like, at the moment, we really have nothing but our imagination. We really don't know what they've done. And this is kind of my favorite stage of the film. So if you can comment on here, you can email me at glumpuddle@narniaweb.com. I've actually gotten some really cool messages, people with questions about Narnia, which I really enjoy answering. And you can also subscribe to these. You can also subscribe to these videos, by the way, if you want to. But right now I'm going to sign off. Wow, this is almost 10 minutes already. So I'm going to sign off now. Hopefully there'll actually be some news soon. I have a hunch there might be. So just stay tuned and further up and further in. Before I leave, 368 days to go, and we'll see what they've done with this whole timeline thing. So looking forward to it.